My next guest actually also doesn't need a real introduction. Indu has co-founded together with Matthew Holt Health 2.0, and I think she, just like I and a lot of other people, is very excited about the things that this blend brings about. So without further ado, I would like to welcome Indu to the stage.
Thank you, Lucian, and welcome to everybody. It's really, really exciting to be here. I can't believe this is our 4th year in Barcelona as Health 2.0. I'm curious, how many of you are attending a Health 2.0 conference for the first time? Wonderful. It's really, really wonderful to see lots of new faces in the audience, and to echo what Hal had just said, we are incredibly honored to be here together with this co-located conference with our new family. So I'm going to take you a little bit through the history of kind of what Health 2.0 is doing and give you a framework for understanding the coming together of these communities within this larger ecosystem. So we began in Europe in 2010, I can't believe it now, in Paris, and it feels like a lifetime ago. But since then, we've had a tour of Europe that's been very exciting. We went from Paris to Berlin for a couple of years, and after that, we were in London. Exactly, we were in London, and we have enjoyed all of those cities tremendously. We made the move to come to Barcelona, where we've really enjoyed being here for the last 3 years, not least because of the beautiful weather. So it's really been wonderful. But now, of course, we're going to Helsinki next, so we're really looking forward to that. That's the history of Health 2.0 in Europe, but of course, last April, a fantastic thing happened. We got married with HIMSS, and today, it really is a joint conference. It's not just a co-location, but there's an incredible amount of opportunity to collaborate as we bring these brands, these conferences, and communities together at this event today. So really, really thrilled about that. In addition to Health 2.0's conferences, I don't know how many of us know, but there is also a really vibrant chapter community with Health 2.0. It is now in over 110 cities globally. And in Europe alone, we have about 15 chapters in 15 different cities and growing, Oslo, Munich, Amsterdam, and right here in Barcelona. So it's very important to respect and honor this entrepreneurial ecosystem. These are not governed by Health 2.0. These are grassroots organizations of people getting together, sharing ideas, and building new technologies, transforming health and healthcare. So a quick definition of what we mean by Health 2.0. There are 3 criteria that we use to distinguish Health 2.0 in a sense from the larger term of health information and technology, as Hal has described so eloquently. And so 3 criteria. The first is any technology in the ecosystem as we see it today must be adaptable. It can't be standalone. It must play well with others. It must have a strong focus on the user experience, whether that user is a patient, citizen, consumer, nurse, doctor, you name it. And it must also use data in some way to drive decision-making and to drive intelligent decision-making. Those themes have been present from the very beginning of Health 2.0. When we started this conference and this movement, if you will, in 2007, even back then when we were looking at the overlap of online communities, search and content and tools, the concept of user focus and the concept of data and the concept of connection were always very, very important to us. And as the ecosystem evolved to really include this data explosion, this was around 2010, a framework we introduced, we really began to describe the system as layers and layers of data coming in from all sorts of sources through these large platforms. But then there was this interface layer that was bubbling up that now today I believe numbers something like 320,000 digital health apps that were surfacing data through platforms to end users to enable better decision making. And I think that rubric took us to today, where we're going to be talking more about this in our keynote tomorrow, Matthew Holt and I, where we're looking at technology platforms not just as vehicles for existing health systems to do their jobs better, or means, if you will, but as fundamentally delivering services and care delivery in new ways. And so we're going to be asking the provocative question over the next few days is, can tech platforms become entire care delivery mechanisms in and of themselves? So that's an overview of the framework of Health 2.0 over the years and the values, if you will, that are really important to this community. But in 2018, we're still living in a world of silos, for better or for worse. And we're really sort of doing our best, if you will, to try to build bridges between silos. But we think this metaphor is fundamentally limited, and there needs to be a new way of thinking about where we're going in the future. And in part, this revolution has been driven by patients and citizens and consumers, as Hal mentioned. And we wanted to give a shout out to and recognize this important community, which has been a core of Health 2.0 from the start. These are folks at the most recent Health 2.0 conference wearing Regina Holliday's walking gallery, which is paying tribute to a movement to put data in the hands of patients, a very personal story that has created a lot of awareness in the US and other places. But this better metaphor, besides silos and bridges, that we've been thinking a lot about is that of a cell membrane. A cell membrane is a living thing. It exists within living systems. It's semi-permeable. It houses a disparate set of services that are interconnected but fundamentally decentralized. And in an ideal world, these services should be continually optimizing in response to our actions. In a sense, the system should never be at rest. It should always be learning. And so we propose this as a framework for where health technology should take us in the future. So there are 5 tech drivers, we believe, of this, and we'll be talking about it more over the next few days, and we invite you to reflect on these themes with us. One is the new interoperability, including FHIR, open APIs, blockchain, and others. We'll be looking at novel modalities and analytics. These include all of the new types of AR, VR, if you will, that are fundamentally changing the way we interface with our health experiences and the analytics underneath. We'll be looking at ways that technology is enabling access to care, but not just access to care, access to intelligent care. Certainly talking about business model disruption, lots of stories from the US that we can share, but of course we'll be learning from our brethren here in Europe. And finally, this notion that health happens everywhere. It's not just about the care delivery system going beyond its walls, although that's important. It's not just about consumers reaching into the care delivery system, although that's important. It's the understanding fundamentally that no matter what environment you're in, whether it's the workplace, your school, your commute, your home, that health is happening. And so we're very, very excited about these 5 drivers. We're very excited to be here. And this continues a very long journey, and we couldn't be happier to be doing it within the family of HIMSS. So thank you for having me today, and look forward to meeting all of you in the next coming days. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. So, Indu, what brings Health 2.0 to the table that wasn't at HIMSS?
I think it's always been within HIMSS, and it's the idea that we have to think sort of a different entry point when we're thinking of health technology. HIMSS began as an association of health systems using technology to make their operations more efficient, more effective, to connect with each other. But I think Health 2.0 brings sort of the outsider perspective, where we started, if you will, on the edges, on the periphery, and kind of came in. So I think what it brings is that perspective, fundamentally, of a broader view of the whole ecosystem, and it also brings communities that are present in the audience today that might not have been as represented in the past. And so it's about not seeing it as, health systems and outsiders. It's about broadening our definition now and making it more inclusive.
Yeah, sure. So one of the things I like about your 5 pillars is that you say health can happen everywhere. And I see a lot of discussion and also work from hospital to home, of course. And I always like to chit-chat a bit about from hospital to phone, because we're not at our work, we're not even at our home right now. And apart from the phone, what could you imagine in terms of other modalities that really could emphasize and strengthen the citizens' health in perspective?
I think it's everywhere. I mean, literally, to rephrase the driver, but whether that's your car, now we're seeing the automotive industry respond with sensors, whether it's looking at, atmospheric and environmental conditions and having sensors and monitors. We've been seeing applications looking at pedestrian safety and monitoring pedestrian foot traffic, and how does that affect health in terms of reducing accidents and fatalities. So really, it's this very, very broad view. It's well beyond the phone. And we, in fact, don't personally subscribe to the term mobile health because we think it's broader than that even.
Yeah. So I see HIMSS also discussing about the survey Women in Health. Can you elaborate a bit more on that and what your take on that is specifically? Because I see, luckily, a lot of more emphasis also in this aspect, of course.
Absolutely. And so this is a subject that's very close to my heart, but it's also very, very important for HIMSS and Health 2.0 and our respective communities, and that is the effort to end gender disparities in the industry. So a few things that you can look forward to over the next few days, starting this evening. We're going to be featuring and honoring the 10 women out of the HIMSS Europe Future 50 cohort, celebrating their accomplishments. So if you're going to join us by the swimming pool in the Malia Garden, you'll be able to attend that reception at the barbecue this evening. And then tomorrow at 4:30 in the Unplug Zone, there are going to be the results of a survey announced that have looked at the issue of women in health IT, and the 2018 results will be presented. So we invite not just women to join us, but men and women at both these important events.
Well, one of the things I've seen recently is Dave Chase was on Twitter talking about the number of mammals, panels with only men, of course. And so there's now an initiative that I think about like 15 or 20 speakers already have engaged in to no longer accept any speaking engagement if there are no women in panels. Is that something that you could also think that really could push this needle up front?
Yeah, no, it's something to be really mindful about, and it's challenging because you always want to ensure diversity, but you also want to get the best quality. I think as people who produce conferences ourselves, we try to be very mindful over the years, and I think it just takes that awareness. And I think I would also make a vote for, if you are going to invite a woman on a panel, please don't invite her because she's a woman, and to say, oh, we really want, exactly. Yeah. So we appreciate this issue, I would say, from both sides, and we appreciate how challenging it is to have that equality, but at the same time, the imperative. So,
again, okay, thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. Indu.